Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to start dry fitting the countertop. Now, typically contractors will actually start from the middle of the counter and work their way to the edges so that both edges look nice and the same. So, I've marked my center line, I've got my two edges, and now we are just about ready to get everything all laid out. Now I have a few pieces of scraps, and these are good to help me have an idea of where I need to place the tiles, because we want to allow for an overhang and for a little bit of the glue that we're going to put the tile against the counter on. Alright, now, as you'll notice, I have these little 16th inch spacers, and that is because I'm going to be using 16th inch mortar. Allowing for grout, which is about a 16th of an inch, and our overhang, which is about a half an inch, we'll need to cut our pieces at about 6.5 inches. I actually found that it was easier to measure it on the back side as opposed to the front side, which is just a little bit too slippery. What we're doing now is we're just going to measure one more time, because as the saying goes, measure twice, cut once. And it is 6.5 on the money. Alright. Okay, now as we measured exactly on 6.5, we are going to have to line up the blade so that it is approaching the line, but it is not actually on it. So, let's get started. And that's how you cut a tile. I've got it all dry fitted now, and all that's left to do is glue them down. So I'm going to take a few of the tiles off so that I can get a starting position so that I can make sure that they go back exactly where they started. Alright, now we just did the line to make sure that we had the tiles centered on the counter and with the other tiles. So, sometimes it'll work a little bit better, or it'll work a little bit longer if you dampen the concrete board first. So, you just kind of want to blot it, not wring it out on it or anything, just blot. And this will just give you a little bit more time to work with it. As you can see, we've drawn our line. And when you do this, you want to go at a 45-degree angle, and you want to push it hard enough so that you can still see your line, so that you'll still have an accurate setup for when you do your tiles. Move it over a little bit. Alright, now I'm just going to tap it real gently to do that initial set in. Alright. Put some of these spacers in here so that we make sure everything is just the way we left it. There we go. Perfect. Now, this is where you want to make sure that everything is all level, because you don't want any gaps or any level differences in the tile. There we go. position it a little bit, some of these, and then I'll start tapping it in. Alright. Perfect. Alright. Looking good. Just to make sure everything is flat and where I want it to be, I'm going to check it with the straight edge. So let's see here, here, here. Alright, I think we're all level. There we go. I'm about to do the last tile. Now, with a little piece like this and a lot of glue like this, you want to make sure that you drop it in tight so that you can later push it away. That way, not a lot of mortar, or the adhesive actually, will come through, and that's a problem because I'll have to clean it up. Alright, all that's left to do is make sure everything is level, make sure all the lines line up. Well, by George, I think we've done it. Now that we've pounded it all level and made sure that everything checks out, we are going to have to wait 24 hours before we can start grouting and before we can start adding the edging to this. And it's just going to look great once we get done. I don't know if you noticed, but the surface is very, very shiny, whereas the side, not so much. So, in an effort to make the side more shiny, we are going to grind down the edge and polish it up and make it look real nice so that it's not quite so dull. We're going to start off with the most coarse, and this is called a marble edge polishing. And this one is like 40 grit, then going to 80, then 220, then 400, and right now we're on the last one, which is 600. And what you want to do is do it real light along the edge, and I'm going to use mostly my knees to guide it, and you just don't apply any pressure at all. And also, I want to make sure that you're aware to use goggles and ear protection because it is very, very loud. Now, one of the reasons why we're doing this ourselves is because it can actually get very expensive to do this professionally. It can be up to $10 for a foot of tile, and so we decided to do this our own way. All right. We're almost done. We've finally got all our tiles down. Now, we've grinded down all the edges, they're all nice and smooth, and we are ready to start grouting. I hope you notice all the grouting tools that we've got out. I've got my trough, I've got a few putty knives, and I've got this thing. I don't quite know what to call it, but we're going to call it a tile grout applicator squeegee thingy. And especially I think you'll want to notice that we have unsanded grout. We use unsanded grout because it is recommended to use that for anything for the grout gap that is anything less than 1/8 of an inch, and as we're using 1/16 of an inch, we especially want to use it. Now, this is a hardener, a grout hardener, and we use it in place of water to mix with the grout. And you know, I find that this just works so much better because we won't have to go in afterwards and seal it again. That bag makes about 420 square feet of tile at 1/16 of an inch. As you can see, we have about maybe 10 square feet, including that little bit over there. So we're using just a little bitty amount. I've got a little less than a cup here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mix this with the grout hardener. And we're only going to use like a 1/4 cup of the hardener. And then we're going to mix it real good. And we will be on our way to proper grout sealing. I've got it at the right consistency now, so I've got to stir it for about 3 more minutes as per the instructions. Now we're ready to start grouting, and I hope you'll notice that I have some latex gloves on. It's not really necessary, but it keeps you from having really, really dry and chapped hands, and it's just more comfortable this way. Now I'm just going to put a little blob, a little bit bigger than that, and then I'll start to squeegee it across. There we go, that's a nice sizable dollop, if you will. So, just going to start spreading it out, and you want to keep it at a 45-degree angle, sorry. And you'll want to go with the green, as opposed, well, when I say grain, I mean with the grout gap, as opposed to exactly horizontal to it, because you don't want to leave any gaps in the grout. And this will give you a nice smooth look. There we go. We've allowed it to sit for 10 minutes, so now what we're going to do is deglaze it. And what that involves is getting a damp sponge and going in circular pattern across it so that you get all of the leftover residue from when we were squeegifying it. And you want to make sure that you don't wipe along the length of the grout, because that will pull the grout out, and well, that's just not good. Just rinsed it out because you want to make sure that you use plenty of fresh water. I mean, you're not wasting anything. I mean, you really need this. And you want your tile to be nice and clean. And so after going over this whole thing, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times with wringing it out plenty of times, we're going to go over it with a soft towel, and then we'll be all done for 24 hours. Now I want you to notice that there is this little haze that's all over it. The tile is no longer as shiny. So what we're going to do is we're going to soft cloth it and we're going to buff it out, and it's just going to be absolutely beautiful. Now, we're going to have to stay off of it for 24 hours because although we do not need to seal the grout because we use that hardener, we're going to still have to seal the granite. So that's the only thing left to do, and then our counters will be done. Oh, that's better.